Oh, I know I'm supposed to be studying for a mock interview and a presentation tomorrow and all those good things, but sometimes you just have to procrastinate a little and just take in the stupid. Just sometimes to make yourself feel just a little bit like, at least I'm not that fucking dumb. Just to give you a little confidence boost before you go into a big thing. So anyway, we have Fusion here for Viper Unscripted with the criminal justice system is broken. Should the police be abolished? Shock Horror, their opinion on that is yes.
It's not just one bad apple. The whole damn tree is rotten.
Alright, start as you mean to go on, I suppose. Massive exaggerations off the start and baseless accusations. But alright, let's hear it. Let's hear why the police should be abolished.
I think when people hear that we're anti-police, they think it's going to be chaos.
You show me a society without some form of enforcement of law and order that doesn't have rampant chaos and criminality, and I'll concede your point. You show me a society with the ability to maintain law and order over a population of 350 some odd million people, and I will concede the point. You have until the end of this year. I'll give you an entire year, but it won't happen, will it?
The new abolitionist movement it's about transformative justice, non-prison, non-police-based strategies for dealing with violence and crisis in our communities.
Non-prison, non-police-based solutions for dealing with violence and crisis in our communities. I have a question for you. If a gunfight breaks out, if somebody, say, tries to raid an opponent gang's, stash house, gunshots start going left and right, drive-bys, who knows what, are you going to step in? Do you know how to de-escalate that situation? Do you know how to handle a proper crisis? Because I don't think you do, and I don't think you have any idea what it's like to be a police officer on patrol in an area where crisis is common. Like any good cult, you've developed your in-group and out-group, and you're just not going to accept any sort of input from that out-group. No. We can't try to associate with or empathize with that out-group, because that might bring in scary outside ideas. Ooh.
Who hasn't had a bad day?
Pretty much nobody. But then again, hey, who hasn't shot somebody in a drive-by shooting? Who hasn't killed an innocent bystander, right? Ah, come on, that bitch spilled your coffee on your shoes, or that damn barista fucking screwed up your Starbucks order. Yeah, who hasn't just wanted to just blown right off at the instant? Gone right off at the fucking cracks and just blasted that person across the fucking counter. Right? Because, just having a bad day is what leads to people, dealing drugs and shooting people who deal drugs and shooting people to get drugs and oh yeah, just a bad day. Just a rough time.
Who hasn't felt anxious or depressed?
As somebody with bipolar disorder, I have experienced that depression part, quite a few times. And don't even get me started on anxiety. My PRNs can tell you all about it. Point I'm trying to make here is that I get depressed all the bloody time. I have panic attacks like you would not fucking believe. Do you know how many times I've gotten into an altercation with the cops? Or broken the law? Yeah. As a result of those things, grand total is 0. 26 years, I'm still batting 1,000. So don't you just sit there and try and tell me that, it's depression and anxiety are causing gang warfare. Let's be real here.
The question is, should anybody deserve to die because of it?
Another gross exaggeration. The fact of the matter is that people aren't dying just because they're having a bad day or they're depressed or a little bit of anxiety. Well, I suppose the depression bit, because, suicide by cop is a thing. But let's face facts here. The people dying at the hands of the police are predominantly, by ridiculous majority, either armed or struggling with the officers, fighting with the officers, trying to get a hold of the officers' guns when they get shot. So yeah, you can't just blame this and hand wave it all away on depression and anxiety. Oh, build up the sympathy game and then, oh, but that shouldn't be why people have to die at the hands of the cops. How stupid do you really think your viewers are? Like, I know your viewers are stupid. Like, I get it. I've seen your material. It's crap. How do you have so little faith in your own viewers?
The police's sole responsibility is to manufacture criminals.
Demonstrably untrue. If I can show you any other responsibility that a police officer has, say, I don't know, codified into the oaths they take, then you're SOL. You're shit out of luck on this point. And guess what? Primary responsibility? Yeah, it's not to manufacture criminals. Hell, it's not even to serve and protect. Alright? At the end of the day, it is a police officer's responsibility to make it home to their family. Their responsibility is to survive. Do what good they can during the day, and survive to go home to their families in the evening. Or if they work night shift in the morning, you get my point. That is so ridiculously insulting to countless police officers across your country, across every other country. Good, honest people who just want to help in the world. God, you're a cunt.
So here you have for-profit prisons. When you create space, you create a demand. That means that bodies have to fill those prisons. And we have seen that it's largely transgender people, it's Black people, it is Native people, it's Latinx people.
Now I've got a radical notion for you, so just hear me out. Hear me out. Could it be that the people who are winding up in prison in these vastly disproportionate numbers are also committing crimes at vastly disproportionate rates? Just is it possible that this is what's happening? You don't have to answer right now. Stop for a second. Think about it. Take a couple of deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just, relax and think about it. Think real hard. Could it be because these are the people committing crimes?
When you have that demand, then you also have to create incentives. That trickles down to police, who also now have the incentive of creating criminals.
Every interaction that a police officer has to have with a criminal, to some extent, puts that officer's life at risk. Every single time a police officer has to stop, arrest, detain, confront a criminal, they accept a certain degree of risk. Trust me when I say there is no incentive, at least no incentive greater than that of wanting to go home to your family, to manufacture these criminals. Yes, the for-profit prison system in the US is a piece of shit. Yep, they figured that they'd try and save some costs by making them profitable ventures. Hasn't worked, it's caused some problems. But you want to know how you stay out of prison? It's not by being a certain color of skin. It's not by being cis. It's not by being, whatever you want to make the minority or majority out to be. Give you a little life hack here. Don't break the law.
It's not about justice anymore. It's about profit. I think we start with the demilitarization of the police. Police don't need assault weapons to protect people.
Frankly, in some cases they do. There was a Hollywood, California bank robbery a number of years back. The police were equipped with pistols and shotguns. The robbers had automatic rifles, AK-47s, body armor, a getaway car prepared. Oh yeah. No, they didn't need anything to deal with those peaceful. I'm sure those robbers were just having a bad day when they shot at all those police officers with automatic weapons. Fun fact, the police on that day were forced to just basically go into local gun stores and buy up anything they could to try and get an edge against these criminals. And that was just two people. That was just two guys out to rob a bank. What kind of weapons do you think, say, I don't know, a gang could get their hands on? Whole organization full of people with whatever number of illicit business ventures going on to fund their arms race against the police. I don't know about you, but I've seen some of the guns that are pulled out on drug raids and gun raids and gang takedowns here in Canada. And it would put to shame the standard firepower of your average police constable, of your average state trooper, wherever the hell you are. Guaranteed. Alright, that's why we have tactical units. That's why we have police wearing body armor. That's why you have police with increasing levels of militarized hardware, because that is what is required to face off against the kinds of threats that people in your community can pose to innocent bystanders and police alike. Remember, it's not just the police's lives. It's that 9-year-old girl who gets hit by a stray bullet through a wall. Fuck's sake, you're dense.
The second thing that we can do is really look at police budgets and create models and economies for that divestment from the institution of policing and the reinvestment in community models.
And I'm assuming Black Lives Matter activists such as yourself would want to naturally be in charge of those community models you speak of. So basically what you're saying is, well, don't give the money to the cops. Give me the money. I'll know what to do with it. I'll spend it better than they will, because unlike them, I'm not a flawed human being or anything like that. Oh no, I'm perfect. Yeah, I can really see where this is going to go.
That means taking money out of police budgets and slowly phasing out police because we don't actually need them in our communities. They don't keep people safe.
We don't need them in our communities. Okay, fair enough. Prove it. Prove to me that the communities with some of the highest crime rates in the country don't need police. That we could just pull all the police out of the community, say, yeah, you know what? No, community, you're on your own. You got this. This one's in your hands, guys. This one's on you. We've been footing this bill for far too long. You're right. You're absolutely right. Let's just not police your areas anymore. You guys can have full control. Just don't step outside your bounds, or then we'll be forced to police you again, and you won't like that. So just stay in your own little communities. And we'll see how long it takes for you to come running out begging for somebody to go in there with a badge and a gun to clean up the fucking streets. I give it like 2 weeks, because I'm pretty sure it was either Venezuela or Brazil that just went through a lawlessness bit. They basically had to like lay off all their police. They didn't have the fucking funding for it, I'm pretty sure. And shit got ugly, and it got ugly real fast. So I don't know where you're getting this whole we don't need the police idea from.
You know, when you're looking at it from the lens of race in this country.
And of course, why would you look at it through any other lens, right?
It's absolutely easier to manufacture criminals around that. When people's skin becomes weaponized, particularly black skin, a book becomes a gun.
I'm sure you're making a reference, but I don't know it off the top of my head, and well, I'm pretty sure it's probably bullshit, and since you haven't cited your reference there, I'll just assume that the old that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence argument still stands. Next option?
A cell phone becomes a gun. A bag of Skittles becomes a gun.
Yeah, I'm sure the cell phone one is another reference that I'm just not getting. But I do know that you are referencing, I got this one. I'm totally down on this whole black culture thing with the criminals and the hands up, don't shoot. Don't worry, I got you on this one. This is Trayvon Martin, isn't it? This is Trayvon Martin. Yeah, that's that kid who the forensic evidence and the eyewitness testimony all said was basically on top of George Zimmerman and like beating his head into the concrete when he got shot. Yeah, I don't care if you're carrying a bag of Skittles, a Mars bar, or a full-size fucking O. Henry. Alright? You start bashing my head into the concrete, I'm gonna shoot you. 110%. You start trying to smash my head into the hard, cold concrete, and I'm gonna put 2 in your chest. Maybe 3, just to make sure, and I'm not gonna feel bad about it. Simple as that. Now stop trotting out. At least you didn't bring up the hands up, don't shoot. Credit to you for that, but you've got to really consider your sources when bringing up these tried and failed false narratives.
We don't have some personal war with individual police officers. What we do have is deep concern and a fight against the institution of policing.
You started off this video by saying it's not just one bad apple. The whole damn tree is rotten. But you don't have a problem with any individual police officers. It's not a war on individual police officers. It's just a war on their entire profession, which sure happens to include them, but isn't directly them, right? Yeah, you're going to chase your tail like a dog on this one, and you're not going to get anywhere.
Undocumented communities know that they can't call the police in the event that crisis happens. A lot of black communities know that too.
1. Undocumented communities, or what you're technically saying and just kind of sugarcoating, is unlawful aliens. All right, people who've committed a felony to be in the country unlawfully can't call the police. No shit. It's like saying Al Capone couldn't call the cops if somebody robbed his rum running operation. No shit. And second, proof on the fact that black people can't call the police. What, they don't have phones? They can't afford a fucking phone? Because poverty's really gotten that bad. Or is it because they're engaged in criminal activities and can't call the police because of the same likeness I brought up with the whole Al Capone thing? You know, they can't call the police or they wind up getting arrested because, I don't know, they happen to also be criminals. It's not that they can't call the police. The lawful ones can, they just choose not to.
And so entire mosques, churches, communities, they have agreements where they won't call the police should something happen. And in its place, we've seen such a wonderful and diverse response when it comes to intervention in our communities.
You know, I'm really happy you mentioned mosques in there because we have seen quite blatantly demonstrated that certain neighborhoods centered around certain mosques in Europe, yeah, they don't call the cops. They don't inform on their inhabitants or people who seek shelter there. Like the Paris terrorist attacker who was able to hide out in a suburb of a Belgian town because everyone there was Muslim, and none of them would report him to the authorities. A wanted terrorist. Somebody who had a hand in killing dozens and dozens and dozens of people. Yeah, I'm sorry if that's the kind of community services and community programs you want. Get fucked.
We've seen people rise up with trainings around mental health crisis, intimate partner violence crisis. We've seen rapid response justice teams, and I think that's really what we need to be building.
There already are rapid response teams. They're called the SRU. They're called the SWAT team. They're called, in some cases, where they may have to be brought in, considering the examples you've given with certain mosques not calling the police, the GSG-9 or the GIGN. I really don't understand why it is you think that vigilante mob justice is going to be any better. Hell, I don't understand why you don't think it would be entirely, in every single possible conceivable facet, worse than what you're already experiencing with the police. If you want to see how mob rule looks, alright, look to countries where they have actually had to get rid of or put on hold police efforts. Again, I can't remember if it was Brazil or Venezuela, but it was some shithole South American country with a crime rate that's already through the fucking roof. And they just said, you know what, I think it was our budget can't handle it. We're just going to have to put the police on hold for a while, folks. Murder rate spikes, petty crime spikes, violent crime spikes. And you can bet in and amongst there, sexual assaults, things you're really concerned about. Well, those spiked as well. I don't see how you can still think that abolishing the police, abolishing a system of law and order that applies equally to everyone and anyone who's a citizen of that country, could possibly be a good idea. But let's hear your closing statements.
Revolution isn't just the ending of something, it's the beginning of something new.
And that was it. Well, Little Miss Black Lives activist, you know what revolution also carries with it? A lot of trips to the guillotine. The French thought they were just starting something new. And then there was Le Grand Terreur. You know, everyone's freaking out because you get witch hunts. You get vigilante mob justice. People hauled kicking and screaming from their rooms because somebody accused them of doing something. Somebody accused them of conspiring with the wrong power group or plotting against the authorities that have now become in charge. And they were trotted out, pelted, cursed at, insults thrown at them as they were carted off to the guillotine, for their heads to roll down into a basket and to be held up aloft in front of the crowd as they all cheered. Yeah, society's been there already, and it didn't turn out too well. You want your revolution? Take it somewhere else. We ain't buying.